French-Canadian comedian was ordered to pay $42,000 to a victim over a joke. I mean, this sounds like something that could come out of The Onion, but it's not. This is real life. So his name is Mike Ward. Vice News reports here. The ruling passed down by the Quebec Human Rights Tribunal, that sounds scary up front, requires Ward to pay in damages to Jeremy Gabriel, who suffers from Treacher-Collins syndrome, a condition that affects the development of bones and tissues in the face, for a joke he made about him at a show in 2010. The tribunal sided with Gabriel, ruling that Ward had infringed on his right to have his disability, honor, and reputation safeguarded without discrimination. Okay, that makes no sense. I don't know what that means. You have a right to have your disability, dishonor, and reputation safeguarded without discrimination. So if people are disabled, then you can't question their honor, you can't make fun of them, you can't, make a joke about them that would impugn their reputation. But again, it's like, I don't know why they're insistent upon blurring the lines of, like, being a joke and you're saying something dickish in reality. And even if somebody were to just say something dickish in reality and it's not just a joke, who cares? Like, the point I'm going to try to stress here is that this is not liberal, but it's framed like, oh, you're being so liberal because you're caring about this victim. Dude, it was a person who was at a comedy show. If you go to a comedy show, everybody knows that people, if you're in the audience, you're fucking fair game. It happens all the time that comedians start ripping on people in the audience. So, and it's in the fucking job description. Comedian tells jokes. It's what they do. So when you have somebody who's like, oh, how dare you tell a joke at my expense? Well, what the fuck did you expect him to do? Is a comedian supposed to ignore you completely? They don't have to do that. They could rip on you. Or if they bring you up, are they supposed to only talk about you in glowing terms and talk about all your accomplishments and shit? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And it's also this idea that, well, we need to coddle certain people in society and make it so that they can't experience what everybody else experiences. So if I go to a comedy show and I get ripped on, okay, I get ripped on. It is what it is. What are you going to do? It happens. But you're saying that because this person has a disability, therefore they're off limits. But then you're not treating them equally. If you treat them equally, you'd say, hey, look, if you got ripped on, maybe it was even a joke in poor taste, but hey, you're in the crowd, it's fair game. So it's baffling to me as somebody who's basically 100% American on free speech issues. I look at this stuff and it scares me. It scares me because, yes, it is a slippery slope, and it's a slippery slope to everybody's speech getting taken away for any reason whatsoever. Dude, as I said before, there's like 3 basic rules when it comes to speech. No libel, no slander, no direct threats of violence. Was there a direct threat of violence here? No. Was there slander or libel? No. And you could actually make a case that there can't be by definition because he's a comedian. So even if he says something that appears to be slanderous or libelous, it's part of a joke, so there's always deniability to say, it's just a fucking joke, I'm not being literal about it. So, and look, they go on to give, personal... The kid says, oh my God, it hurt my feelings so much, and it was so terrible, and I got bullied at school, and I considered suicide and all that stuff. By the way, I don't even know if all that's true, and as the comedian points out, maybe you were bullied beforehand. I mean, everybody knows it's a fact that you have a disability, and it's not like school kids have always been peachy to people with disabilities. Yeah, they've been pricks, they've been assholes. But they're trying to blame all the bullying on this comedian, and they're trying to say, like, no, what do you mean? This isn't, it's on you. They're trying to make it seem like he's responsible even for an alleged suicide attempt. But, I mean, guys, there's a million reasons why somebody could end up going in that direction. Are we supposed to go back and try to parse all the events in people's lives to try to pin it on one thing specifically? And to say, it's this person's fault for saying this thing or doing this thing, and are we going to criminalize those actions? I mean, if something as simple as an argument can push people over the edge to commit suicide, are we going to ban arguments? Like, this seems to me like over-policing. And don't get me wrong. This is also not me making the argument because I don't even know what the joke was. Maybe it was a bad joke, but that's irrelevant. Like, it could be the worst joke ever, and that doesn't mean you get to fucking lock them up. And think about the other effects of this. Are comedians going to go to fucking Canada now anymore? No, they're going to say, fuck you. Why would I go there and risk having to pay $42,000 because I told the wrong joke at the wrong time? I mean, this has horrific effects. And you're going to make it so that nobody can speak out on anything because everybody's afraid that they're going to have to pay $42,000 or they might get locked up or this might happen or that might happen. Because the slippery slope is real, man. You know, you say, oh, you can't make fun of that group of people. You can't make fun of that person. Okay, well, what's next? Well, okay, now you can't make fun of that group of people. And then eventually it gets to the point where it's somebody that you make fun of. You know, on this show on a regular basis, I always say this, but if a Ted Cruz fan listens to this show, they will be beyond offended, and they could argue, you're inciting hatred against Christians and you're inciting hatred against conservatives. Do they have a legit case there? No, they don't, because I'm just riffing on them. You know, I don't agree with Christians. I don't agree with conservatives. I think they're goofy. I think a lot of them are stupid, though not all. But I talk about that. Somebody can make an argument, oh no, hey man, you offended my sensibilities, and you made it so that I contemplated suicide, and you made it so that, you know, my self-esteem was hurt. I feel bullied by what you said. This is harassment, or at the very least, incitement to harassment. You can't open that door. Once you open that door, there's no closing that door. This is a genuine slippery slope problem. You don't ever get to fucking lock a comedian up for telling a bad joke. I mean, this should be obvious, but no. No, at this point, that's not the case. At this point, we still live in a world where everybody polices everybody's, you know, speech. And I haven't even brought up other aspects of free speech violations. You know, I haven't even brought up, in many states, you can't say, I don't believe in God. That's horrific. I mean, we need freedom of speech. We need freedom of expression. We need civil liberties. It's not like, you know, if you live in a society that doesn't have the civil liberties and the freedom of expression, it's equal to those that do. No, if it doesn't have freedom of expression and freedom of speech, at least on that issue, it's inferior. It's an inferior system. It's a dumber system.